Hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Never Let the Machines Win, where we try to figure things out, fix things, share some of the things that I've learned over the last 5 or 6 years of 3D printing. It's primarily what we do here. And tonight we're going to be setting up a file. The other day we showed how to download a file from one of the public 3D printing repositories of files. And today I'm going to show how to get it ready for printing on a Elegoo Saturn resin printer. And to do that, this is the CHITUBOX software. Not sure. Hey there, Vince. How you doing? Good to see you. Thanks for stopping in. Never quite sure the official way to pronounce this. You can pronounce it so it sounds like a bad word, but I call it CHITUBOX. You can say it CHITUBOX. Depends how you want to say it. Some people don't love this software. I've kind of learned to like it. I've tried a couple of the others, and I'm kind of used to this now. I started using this on my first Mars, so that was a year and a half or more ago, maybe almost 2 years ago now. So, and is the music playing okay, Vince? Can you hear it all right? Then I can turn off the scrolling banner at the bottom. Oh, well. I hope that I can inspire you to use your photons again. It's just right. Okay, I'm going to quote you on that. I put it in the stream. It's hard for me to tell because the way I've got this rigged up here, it plays through the headphones. So I kind of turn it down so it doesn't annoy me too much. And then I did a test run tonight for just a few minutes and tried different settings on the mixer. And I thought this was a good place to start. At least we have control upstairs and downstairs in the main video studio area, so it should get better now. Mostly I want to know that so that I can turn off the ticker and show the rest of the graphics. Okay, so tonight we're going to load up this little file. I don't know if any of you have seen the new commercial for the Ghostbusters movie that's coming out later this year. Forget when exactly. I've seen this 3 times today and I didn't catch that part, but not real soon anyways. But it's got a whole bunch of little marshmallow men in a store of some kind. And I think the video only came out last night or yesterday sometime. And Chelsea over at ChaosCoreTech, she jumped right into it and threw this together and did a great job. And I've seen a couple people printing it today, so I thought I've got a small one printing downstairs now with some other stuff on the plate, but I thought I'd do a 100% size one, maybe a little bit bigger. We'll decide in a couple minutes. Hey there, Ron, Happy Extruder, how are you? Thanks for stopping in. Haven't seen you in a little while. Hope you're doing okay. So yeah, really good to see you. It's been a while. I probably haven't seen Ron in person in about a year and a half. Anyway, I just brought this in. This is already pre-configured for the Saturn, head size and everything. And the rightmost button, we can spin it around and take a look at them from all sides. Scroll them up closer. And hi there, Heather. Thanks for stopping in. We're doing more 3D printing stuff tonight. Surprised? Yeah, since Earth, yeah. October 2019, roughly. $2022 is my goal for those. Anyway, when you're printing in resin, one of the things you want to do is not waste a lot of the material. Some days I'll print things solid just because I'm lazy. But today we're going to hollow this out. You want it, if you print him like just now, if we just print him as he is, without supports or anything, but just for an idea. He's going to take 66 grams of material as he is now. 60.15 milliliters, but. And at the price of resin around me, that's $3.50, $4, somewhere in there. But we don't probably want to do that. What we're going to do is we're going to hollow him out. Because right now, if you go down through him, he's solid. And by hollowing that out, you can see we'll save a fair amount of plastic resin. And probably bring his price down a little bit. First of all, let's decide how big we want him. One of my goals is to paint this guy because honestly, it's not going to be a lot to paint. Paint him all white, paint some blue, some red, a little bit of black. I'll call him done. Some gloss coat. So I want to use him as part of my thing. So if I print him 50% bigger, it should be easier to paint, right? Less detail. No watercoloring yet. Sorry. You haven't taught me enough of that yet. But I am going to paint this guy. That's on my, I've got 3 models I've printed just specifically to practice when I set up the airbrush and paints and everything. So it's getting closer. I've got another 3 weeks of this beta challenge that I'm doing, stream every day. So I'm sure I'm going to paint a couple of those days. And I watched Breaks and Makes, formerly 3D Maker noob, Joe and Malta. He was doing painting today, and I got the itch again. So I'll blame him. My credit card will blame him. So first of all, we're going to scale them up. So all we do is simply go in here and go 150 on the keyboard. Yeah, that's plenty big. So, and just as a scale, the plate in the Saturn kind of reminds me of a VHS tape size. And I am pretty sure that most of the people here remember VHS tapes. Even my kids do. So, I know if we watch enough Barney and Godzilla. The older one watched Barney, the younger one watched Godzilla. Dinosaurs, sort of. So now he'd take even more material. Let's just do a quick rough, because the supports don't take up much, really. It was really smart. I'd write this down. $223 grams. That's about half a bottle liter. That's half liter bottles. So yeah, what's a VHS tape? And Betamax, yeah, it's about the same too. I like the Saturn. I was glad I bought it when it was first announced and waited forever, and then waited some more forever, and finally got it. I don't know if I ever got all the free stuff they were supposed to send me, but I got the printer, and you can't buy them anywhere. they're still hard to find as of last week anyway. Yep. Yes, we are going to hollow him out and save some material, especially now that he made 50% bigger. But I just wanted to have a number here of approximately how much he'd take solid. The other problem with printing something larger solid is that on the normal printers that most of us started with, everything prints from here and works up. So you're not fighting gravity. The weight of the object doesn't really matter as much. Overhangs matter, but if it's solid or empty, it doesn't change the way it prints really. With resin, it prints upside down, so the plate keeps moving up, and as that object gets bigger, it gets heavier, and when it gets to a certain point, it can pull off if you haven't added enough supports in the right places. And I save the cutouts if they're like, I'll save one tonight because I'll tell you in a second why, but yeah, I will. I don't save them if they're flat or if they're going to be like on the bottom of feet or in the middle of a back somewhere that they're not going to show. And if they do, I can, throw some putty on it and smooth it over before I paint them. But if it's something I'm just going to leave natural resin, like a translucent red or something, I use a lot of translucent red Elegoo, then I try not to, I tend to leave them solid because they look really nice when you gloss coat them later and they're solid red. They look nicer. So it just depends. But for this guy, he's going to get, and we tilt them back. They just print better. I don't know. Ron, do you know the science? Hey there, DeFancy. How are you? The aforementioned Godzilla fan. Yes, I talked about you earlier. If you go back and watch it and replay, you'll see it. A younger Spawn. I don't know if Ron knows the reason that I know it prints better. You'll end up with, like, the main reason I do it is you'll see in a minute where the supports go, but I want to keep the front of him that I'm going to see the most not covered in supports. So when I take them off, and if they pit a little bit or leave a little bump, I'm not going to care so much when I kind of sand it. It's not going to be something I'm going to see all the time, so I don't have to do as good of a job. It's always a little bit of lazy in there. So in this one, let's set them for hollowing. I found that 1.5 millimeter walls seems to work good, gives me a good balance between being solid enough to not cave in. If you have them too thin, they kind of go squishy sometimes, I've found. And infill structure, none. I've never really played with that. Today's probably not the best day. Yes. DeFancy, did you see the Ghostbusters commercial today? Paul Rudd in it. It's Paul Rudd, isn't it? Yeah. This was Chelsea turned this out last night or this morning. I forget when she released it. So she's got another one already. Another scene from the commercial. MJ, how are you? Thanks for stopping in tonight. So now, if we do the top to bottom pull down, you can see that it's all hollow inside now. So we should have saved a lot of material. I'm going to say that we're about a quarter. So we were 230 something before. I'm thinking we'll be well under 100 at this point because he's pretty round. So let's just do a quick test just as a comparison before I add the supports. Prints. There it is. Hi there, SB. How are you tonight? Thanks for visiting us tonight. I gotta say, quit stopping in all the time. Prints better due to the surface layers being put down. Yeah, I know. It also, I found, if I rarely ever print anything flat on the bed, for a reason I'll describe in a couple minutes. I just cook the base so it sticks well. But they, if you do them flat down, it seems like you get a lot of splitting and things. Some of the earlier ones I did, I had that problem. Yeah, it does look really funny. Spee says make two. I'm going to paint this one, so depending on how it turns out, you never know. So in this case, we're down to 36 grams compared to 230 something before. Brought the price down to like $2 worth of plastic. My frugal side likes that. It's still going to take 15, 16 hours to print just because the way my settings are. I tend to make sure things stick well, so I don't try to tweak it too much, but so, and yes, this was downloaded from thangs.com. They made this one. That's where Chelsea uploaded it, so that's where I went to find it. So let's go back so I can see what I'm doing. Now, the other thing you want to do with this, with resin printing, is you want to put a few holes, because as you print, the way it works, it pushes it down against a plastic film in the tank of resin goop, and then it flashes it, cures a layer, and then it lifts up, pulls off the plastic base, goes back down just a little bit less down, flashes the next layer. And if you don't have any way, after it gets to a certain size, there's too much suction between this cavity and the they call it the FEP sheet, plastic sheet base, and it'll pull it off the supports and wreck your print, or worse. So it's always a good idea to put a couple of holes in to let air in and out. So you want them down in the feed area, because they will be the ones that will need that first. Yeah, we're not going to be streaming. Hi there, John Jones. Thanks for stopping in. Yeah, you got time to go make a coffee. I'm going to talk for a little while still. Suction forces, that's a good way to put it. Keep meaning to make a little graphic of this stuff. Maybe I'll get around to it yet. Now, to dig a hole, I use a circle, and I use a 6mm hole, because one of the problems with this is you have to cure all of the plastic when you're done. It comes out, it's still dripping wet. You clean it off, and then we'll go through that another time later. And then you have to cure it with UV light. Same UV light that they use for fingernails in a salon. You know the smell when you walk through the mall? Same smell for resin to me. That's what it reminds me of. And same light source, 405 nanometer lights, UV light source. And what I use is one of these. It's just a little 405 nanometer LED with a piece of wire that I put together, and a 9-volt battery clip. And when I clip a battery into it, I can slide this into the holes in the model at the end, and it helps cure the inside to keep it from, because if you leave it wet and you don't cure it, days, weeks, months later, it'll crack. And on all the Facebook forums for all the resin printers, there's always somebody who's like, oh my God, I printed this last week and it was perfect, and now it cracked. Yeah. Also, not a fan of water-based resins. I think it's a scam. But anyway, another chapter. So if we just go add a hole, I'm going to put one in his foot. And now when you look in through that hole, you can see right up in there, and see right up to the top of his hat. which is where I'm going to put my other hole. And then we can put another one over there. And what Ron mentioned earlier was the these little pieces, which are the plugs that I just cut out. It saves them. You know what I wish they would do? I wish they would taper those so that you could put them back in later and they wouldn't just push in. Like when I have tried to put in just the plain round ones before, and it's too easy to get them lined up with crazy glue on them, and then all of a sudden you slip a little bit and in they go and they're in there rattling around. So I throw out the little ones here. We'll delete those later, but I keep the ones if it's a curved surface or if it's going to show somewhere. Now, ideally, I guess on this one, it would be as high as you can go. So it would be up in this area somewhere that I would do it. But I'm going to be brave on this one because I think this last couple of half an inch will be fine. I'm going to take it right out of the, darn, thought it would be better. Anyway, and I'm just going to put it offside a little bit because I'll have to do some sanding and cleaning on this spot when I put it back in. Yes. Maybe they'll watch this video and they'll hear me ask them. No, probably not. Maybe I'll tag them. But yes. CHITUBOX, please angled cutout options a must. I just think it's so easy, and I think like if it was FDM, the damn things wouldn't fit anyway because of the diameter of the filament would mess it up. I found these are pretty good. Like odd time you have to do a bit of sanding to make them fit, but they're pretty close, right? But I just think that tapering them would be so much easier. And then even if they were just a flat spot and you didn't get them in quite far enough, you could still just sand it off easy, but you wouldn't be losing them. So that's right. Exactly. Maybe the people that work at CHITUBOX don't have pumpkins. Maybe they don't do Halloween. Get back over here so this doesn't mess up. So I'm thinking I'm going to just move it so that it's, if I could do it perfectly, like inside that, but I don't want to make this any smaller because that's my custom soldering job on there made it so I need 6mm hole to get the thing in. So I'm going to try it just over here, and it'll be easy to line up when I put it back in because I'll have something to line it up with if it'll do it. I hope not hitting a bug. Okay, it's not going to let me. There, okay. Doesn't matter to me where it is, because I'm going to have to do some cleanup on this anyways. Now, I think that's all I'm going to do. I could do more, but I think that'll work fine. You've got the ones in the bottom, so it's not going to matter until it gets down near the end anyways. Because all through here, those bottom ones are going to be good because the arms are connected fine. There's big openings on the inside to let air through. Air moves pretty quick. So now if you zoom in on, if I zoom in on that, look, there's the inside and there's the outside of it, the little part of the bump in his hat. So, and one thing, I don't know, do you do the plugs, Ron, when you do this? I also wish they'd make these a different color, like make them red or green or something, because the two shades of bluish gray just don't work for me sometimes. That's that one. I know I can just click on them, but what I tend to do is I forget to put supports on that piece later, so we're going to go do it right now. So we're going to turn off that. So now that we have it selected, we're going to go into here, and it's already on a weird angle, so I'm just going to leave it the way it is. And the way I do this is I don't want things to fail if I can avoid it. I don't play the game where I'm going to put a whole bunch of light supports in because they're easier to clean up after. They're kind of 50-50 to me. Cleaning up a spot is okay, whether it's, 0.1 millimeters or 0.15. It's still, I got to clean it. So, and I've been going with 50% density, and then I add some lighter ones. That's where I'm at right now in my experiments with this. And everybody's different. Everybody has a different way of doing this. It's hard on the small ones because they just don't know where they are half the time. Now, we're looking at the bottom. And if you see the red parts there, that's parts where it's hinting at me, telling me that it needs more support, but it just put in 2. So maybe that's because of the 50%, but I'm just going to add a few more anyway. And this is the inside, so I don't have to worry about it. So I will use like that. No, we'll put that one just, that's plenty. It's just a little piece. And then the other thing I do at this point is, which way is up again? I always forget that's there. It makes it so much easier. Now, if you see how these supports are kind of out on an angle, that really does help, I found. Straight up supports tend to fail a lot. So what I'm going to do is, seeing as it's going to start, the first thing it's going to print, see where this black line comes up? That'll be it printing. The first thing it hits, it's actually the object, is just this one little contact point. And then it's going to have to carry all the load until we get up to the next one up there. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to throw another light support in. And I'm going to do one on this side. And then one on this side to help support it when it starts to go, so it doesn't, not that it wobbles a lot, but it doesn't tilt at all as it starts to get a little bit of weight. And it's just easy to show that there, because when we go back, the other thing I do is I tend to save quite a bit because CHITUBOX does crash. It's not perfect by any means. Okay, so now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to select the big guy here and go back to the thing, put the heavy supports on for sure. And I kind of like that angle, so let's just see what happens. So we're on add supports. Most of these settings here look complicated, but they're mostly just the defaults from the first day I ever used this. One time I lost everything and I borrowed a set of settings from somebody, and then I just worked off of that. So they're the same ones that basically I've been using the whole time. The only thing I play with is the timing on the layers a bit, but different resins like different brightnesses and timing of light, at least, not brightness, but anyway. Okay, so we're back here, and now you can see we've got a whole bunch of scaffolding put in to hold him from falling over. Notice how, like I talked about before, his face has no supports on it, and that means won't have to do any cleanup there. And cleanup is a pain on resin printing. So let's just, again, if we go underneath and we see all the red areas, he's got some diaper rash. But you see all the areas where it's put some and then it hasn't put some in others. So what I do now is I'll go in and throw medium or light. In this case, we'll use light because he's not going to weigh much, and hopefully it works. We'll find out tomorrow night because I've got prints running overnight down there now. So what I do is I just throw in a couple more of these and then just pull back enough to see how they did it. See, I don't like that these ones are totally by themselves. So those are going to wobble. So we'll just do that. And that way they'll support until they get up there. That's more to help the supports make it than to hold up the object. That's, if you put that one single light support all the way up, it probably won't form all the way. It'll go, something will happen. But see the difference in size between the light ones and the heavy ones? To me, the heavy ones hold the weight, and the light ones just help in a few little areas where it can use a little bit extra support. So let's see how his other regions are. It's probably all right, but we'll throw in there. We'll just scamper a few more in here just to help out. And found the odd help having a couple of light ones in there. Also helps when you're taking them off because it's easy to pull the light ones first, and then if they're attached to a heavy one, it makes it easier to pull them off. Another thing that we have to look forward to coming soon is some software I'd forgotten about. I just happened to stumble on a video today. Somebody did a while ago. I think they released it last summer-ish or spring. Is a ZBrush Core Mini. Totally free, 3D modeling, organic. It's got a surprising number of features. I mean, it's certainly not the same as their expensive ZBrush product or even a ZBrush Core. They're in between version. But Mini it's actually fun. I played with it a bit this morning, so. And no superpowers yet. Looks like he stepped on an exploding porcupine. So I'm just going to throw in another one there. See, I did it again. Doesn't kind of help. I think we're all right there. Down braced. The part I really worry about is down here at the bottom of the feet, where it's going to be the first places that it starts carrying any load at all. So another thing I look for here, and I'll show you in a minute, is and it's really hard to see, but I don't think there's any in there. Sometimes the supports will go from the base up through the hole and into the body cavity, and that's fine because they're supporting the inside, which is great. And I don't care that they're in there because this is going to get printed in gray and painted anyway, so I don't care. I don't have to see them. But they tend to plug the hole because it'll end up with like 4 tree branches going through that hole, and it's plugged. You can't get the light in there anymore. And trying to break them out is challenging because you can't, they're still a little bit pliable and soft. until you cure the inside fully, and you can't get the light in there to do it. So just in the last week or so, I've been trying to remember to take those out before we do it, and then I haven't found a problem where it caved in inside. So far it's working all right. Do you run into that, Ron, where they plug the hole and you at least got to chip them out to put the plugs back in? But right now, like on this leg, you can see the hole. There's none in here. If there was any in there, they'd be sticking right up through the hole. Now, if we go over here, I can see there's one already. And those ones along the edge don't impress me. Like these two here, let's click them so I can highlight them because they're going. Those two there, when I print those, they'll take up most of the inside of the hole. Yeah, there's lots of free tutorials for everything, for all the ZBrush stuff. I'm sure there's a lot for me. I don't know how I kind of half remember ZBrush Core Mini coming out last year, but it was, a long year. And up until late summer, work was real busy, so I probably wasn't the most focused I should have been. But I have the real ZBrush, so for me, I didn't really need it, but it's handy just to sit back and relax for 10 minutes. Call it a smoke break, I guess. You just sit back and play for 10 minutes and stress out. I did that a bit earlier today. Yes, trying to get snips in there to cut those. I know. I've well blessed many prints downstairs in the last year or so. But I just had this revelation that why don't I just make sure they don't grow there? I also need to explore more of the inner support option when you hollow it. But for now, we'll just get rid of those and they won't cause that problem. I don't understand why there's so many here, but let's just change the rules a little bit. Let's add a couple more heavy ones to hold the weight and get rid of the ones that are kind of in the way here. We'll leave one of those maybe. So I think there's like 3 or 4 of them. Yeah, there's all kinds of them. All right. All right. I want him to stay. I don't want him to fall. His crotch is seemingly well supported. A couple more just for fun. Every one you put on, you got to take it off again. So so they support each other a bit. A couple more up here to help support the weight when it gets that far. Although if it fails before then, it'll be over already. Little ones come off quick and easy. Hi there, Ryan. Thanks for joining us tonight. Everyone needs good crotch support. This is a fact. I call this crotch, Marshmallow Man. And I think the hands will be close enough to all right. They got a little bit of pinkish area, but let's gamble. Let's live on the edge. it doesn't work, I can always print it again. So, and likewise, let's see what we can do up here. Because we are going to have to put this one in, so sorry, needing support. I tried moving them in there, and it's really hard to do. That'll work fine. It'll come up, and it'll be close enough. What's this one doing? Straggler. Yes, spending time now. If I spend half an hour or so getting the supports right on a model that's going to take overnight to print, it's a lot better than waking up in the morning and saying a lot of bad words because I saved, 20 minutes by just taking auto supports and letting it go. And I've done that a lot on small stuff that I don't care about if it's just a test print. Let's push the button and see what happens. Add more supports, set it up to 75 density, all heavy supports, and just push go because I'm not going to use it. It's just a test one. Wow. James is here too. Good crowd. Thanks for stopping in, sir. How are things going up in your part of the country? In the kind of northeast from me. That's what I did today. So I'm tired tonight. I won't put that one up there. That's not right. It's red, violets are blue. Rhythming is hard. Yeah, the rook settings. Yeah, the final lockdown. Yeah, I doubt it's the final one, sir, but we're down. I got my first shot, and my next appointment is in July. I know what they're trying to do. They're trying to say, instead of giving me 2 shots, they'll give me one, they'll give one to somebody else to help them. And that's fine. I'm not against that idea. I just think that 2 months is a long time. So, and I got the less popular of the shots because that's all I'm eligible for the next couple of months probably. So we'll see. So far, no symptoms. It was tender a bit where they stabbed me, but that's not unusual when you get stabbed with a needle. So I don't know, we'll see. I haven't had the aches and pains and nausea that some people have had with it, so. Oh man, that's awful. That's too bad. But at least she has a target goal now, right? Before, didn't you say it looked like she wasn't going to be able to get one at all? So that's good. I know I took my list of stuff I take in there and handed it to the guy, and I thought he was probably going to say, no. But he didn't, and they don't get paid enough to lie, so. Apparently these shots don't cost much, which is extra frustrating. But anyway, enough of that. Okay, so am I forgetting anything? Somewhere back here, there it is. We've got the little guy. And if I'm smart, I move him over so that it touches there and it's more likely to make it. It's easier to take it all off in one piece. Yeah, city on the edge of forever. Yeah. For the last year, every morning I woke up, I did the self-diagnostic and say, do you feel okay? I feel okay for the last 10 years, so okay. So now I just get to add some more stuff into that mental wake-up mode. So, especially for the next couple of weeks. But if it does what I'm been led to believe it does, and it makes it so that if I catch it, I likely won't die. I'm okay with that. If I still feel like shit, that's okay, as long as I have a better chance of making it. So I think we're ready. Just quickly go over the settings I use. See, I put my initials in these. Ooh, I felt that good about it. All this is the basics. Resin costs, good resin. CHITUBOX costs about $60 a liter up there by the time you get it delivered. Even though they have a Canadian website now, it still ships from overseas. But it's easier and less hassle than I used to order it from Amazon.com from the States, bring it in, and it's obvious that they don't put any markings on the box what's in it, because that stuff shouldn't cross the border cleanly, but I was lucky it always did. And the price of it, because it was always like a $200 order, I should have got dinged for it, but Amazon, it just flows through. So these are the settings I use for this. I don't know. I don't claim them to be better or worse than anybody else's. It's just these ones have been working for me for the last few months when I've been using the Saturn. The only ones I really play with much are the exposure time. I crank that up to about 4 seconds for a clear or more translucent resin sometimes. Sometimes I'll go down to 3.2, depending on how brittle it is when it comes out. If it's getting too much exposure, I'll bring it down a bit. But with this Elegoo, not their ABS like, just their Elegoo plain stuff, these seem to work well for me so far. Watch, it'll fail because I said that. And I'm touching fake wood products even. I like to add light delays, and this is kind of a holdover from the Mars for me. The Mars was so hard on the displays that I burn out a couple of them, and it ends up with holes, or that doesn't work anymore. So I always put in the cooling. I think Robbie Mack mentioned that one night in a Saturday Night Maker stream a long time ago. And I haven't, again, I'm going to say something stupid, but I haven't had to replace a Mars. But I haven't been using it the last few months much, but I haven't had the same problems with the screens. So either they're making slightly better screens, or you can't see my settings. I'm sorry. Just pretend that I said all that stuff, and I'm going to try this. Sorry about that. Let's do it this way. Almost like I've used this software before. And I'm looking at the screen and still didn't connect. So thank you for telling me that. Wasn't that long ago, Ryan. But thank you for telling me that, Ron, so that we got it worked out. I'm talking about numbers. You can't see shit. Oh, man. So, yeah. What I was talking about was these are kind of standard. They don't change much. 0.05 millimeter layer height. If your standard Prusa printer is 0.2 millimeter, these are basically a quarter of that. so it's a lot smoother. You have to look pretty close to see the lines usually in these. I was glad you were here before, Ron, but I'm really glad you're here since you told me that I wasn't showing anything. What else do you get? Oh, you just get my title bar. No big deal. All right. And then this is the one I was talking about, 3.5. It varies for me between 3.2 and 4, depending on, but I don't have to change it much. I don't find a whole lot of variance. Some people really work at that. I think I got these settings, this set of settings, from Practical Printing, Krusty. I think he gave me these because I was having trouble with CHITUBOX Clear it was one of the first things I printed was, of course, try something different, right? And I didn't realize, and he didn't realize it at first, because he lives in California where it's never cold, that CHITUBOX does not like a cold room. It likes to be warm. So I changed the heating in the bathroom that I use as my print room downstairs, because it has a vent outside, and it got better. And then I had to do some other stuff, so I had to switch resins. But when I go back, I'll know better. I've got a bunch of his settings here. And then the light off delay, that's what I do to kind of save the screens. Although it's less important on these, I just leave it there. Just have it now, and it can't really hurt, I don't think. I don't see how it could hurt it. These, I think, are just the defaults he gave me. I don't think I've changed any of the retraction speeds. And so far, after the first few days when I was fighting with the CHITUBOX Clear, I don't think I've had anything come off the flex plate. I'm using the Wham Bam flex plates on all my resin ones now. All two of them that are running. But I really like those flex plates, man. Just take it out, pop this. Well, I have to cut the stuff off a bit, because I do my bottom exposure time cooks them on there pretty good, but they don't fall off. So I'd rather spend the extra 10 seconds with the Japanese Kilimanjaro, whatever it's called, knife. And they also told me about, him and Shane told me about, and it's just like magic. So we'll show that in a later video. So that's about it. In advance is just anti-aliasing is on. I don't know what any of this stuff does because it's not on, so I've never used it and haven't looked into it far enough yet. So that's it. And there, we'll go back to the other screens and mist. Resin ends up being about $60 a liter here, roughly. And that's just the basic settings for the Saturn. And if we slice it, I'll hide that so that you don't have to see the stop sharing thing. It's showing the whole screen. It's not bad. The print that's downstairs, when I set it to slice it, it took a while. So, and this is a MacBook Pro, a couple years old, i7, blah, blah, blah. It's not really a slug usually. Although Big Sur has made it less peppy. But anyway, so if we, as I just said that, now it'll get really slow as I'm trying to do 4 things at once now. You can see the supports inside. Let's save this before anything bad happens. Sure, it saves it as a CTB file for CHITUBOX. Red Light, how are you this fine and glorious evening? Thank you for visiting and joining in the fun. Yes, I have an Elegoo Saturn. I ordered it when they first came out, and then, you know, delay, and I forget when it actually arrived. I want to say before Christmas. Mine finally got here to Canada with the usual import fees and BS fees that they add to things. And so I was on the list from, you know, when they had those, oh, we're going to do pre-orders now, and you had to like jump on it. And I missed the first round. I think I got in the second round because it happened at a weird time of day. Like, you had to be up super early for North America. So I set an alarm and made sure that I was focused enough to click the mouse enough times and give them my credit card number, and I was on the list. And then it sat for quite a while because I had too many other things going on and I didn't have time for the distraction. And then just a couple months ago, I started using it. And I kind of like it. And I lucked out because when I ordered the Wham Bams for it, before they even got close to shipping, when I ordered the Wham Bam plate for it and one for each of my Mars printers. And so I only paid shipping once. And at that time, there was only one Saturn bed size. And then literally days after that, they came out with another size, and then shortly after a third size. So I didn't really know which one I was going to get. And Canada orders were coming, then they got delayed, and then they sat, I think, in Vancouver area somewhere for weeks before they finally got released. But I sent a note to Peter at Wham Bam and said, they sent a thing around, do you want to change your order or anything? Because, because Elegoo kept changing them. And I was like, no, I'll just wait, I'll gamble. I figure worst case, if I happen to get an earlier size that was smaller, and then the plate was one of the bigger sizes, I would just sell it to somebody and save them the shipping, and I just order another one. But I lucked out. The one I got fits perfect. And the reality is it's only a few millimeters anyways. It wouldn't really make a difference. But yes, I really like it. I like that it's bigger. I like that it's a monochrome screen, so I hope the screen lasts longer than the color screens, do on the Mars. I've got one Mars that's just a lemon, so you've seen it a few times on screen. It's still not working right. I have to make a video to send to them again, but probably shouldn't do it when I'm mad. Because they probably don't like me already. They'll like me even less. Should crash now. I probably will. No, I really like it. It's been doing good so far. I mean, I've got the Wham Bam plate on it, so I haven't had some of the issues that people have been talking about in the forums, on the Facebook forums. I know it's kind of like the National Enquirer for tech support, but they don't. A lot of time, everybody's like, "Oh, did you level it?" Really, leveling these things isn't rocket science, for crying out loud. And if you get it close, part of it's going to stick at least. Like, for a while, I had it where one corner wasn't sticking right, but then I took the Wham Bam sheet, and it's two-sided. I took the one side and scuffed it up in a circular scribble pattern with the sandpaper that they include with it, and it's been great ever since. So I really have, so far, again, touching fake wood products, I have no luck, or no complaints. Sorry, not no luck. No complaints with it so far. I've been very lucky. So it should work better now that it's not in computation mode. So, and let's just go double check that we don't have any. Yeah, none coming up through the feet. Awesome. I'll make later easier. But I may be sorry where I put the one in his head, but we'll find out. We'll find out. Anyway, and that's kind of about all there is to that. Now all I do is I take that file that I just saved, the CTB file, put it on a 4 gigabyte USB stick. That's one of the other secrets to all the Elegoo resin printers I found so far. Don't use a 8, 16, 32 gig file, no matter what you format it as, FAT32 or anything. It's still going to flake out. As long as you can find, and I just buy cheap ones on Amazon for like $20 for 4 or 5 of them, and they work. Of course, I don't have any sitting here right now, but just cheap USB sticks, 4 gigabyte. Don't even format them again. I think I've had one bad one so far that wouldn't read reliably, but threw it out. But that seems to be the secret. I saw somebody last week on one of the Facebook pages, and I was like, he's like, oh, I bought a new, because they said, oh, go buy a new USB stick. And he'd already gone and ordered it by the time I saw that post. And I said, yeah, make sure you get a 4 gigabyte one. Then a couple of people were like, no, you can use anything. All right. And I felt like Willy Wonka in the Chocolate Factory. Yeah, oh no, don't do that. No, it's okay. I was like, let him go. So my experience is different. I'm not going to fight with them though. So that's about all for tonight. I want to thank Chelsea at ChaosCoreTech for making this cool model and giving me something to use for show and tell tonight. And thanks for their support, not of me, but of creators and people in the community for making models available. And CHITUBOX for making software that works with the Elegoo products. I don't know of any other software that writes the CTB file format. I don't know of any other one that does it direct. I think anywhere else, if you use any of the other slicers, which I'm blanking on right now, besides Prusa Slicer, which I have used before to rough in supports, and then came in here and added some and converted it. But who's the other one? Forget the other one. It's probably here. Nope. There it is. Lychee Slicer. That's the other one. I haven't used it much. I tried it earlier on in its career and found it kind of challenging, and I went back to this, and this has always been good for me. So anyway, does anybody have any questions or anything before I play the awesome video at the end? I was just going to say, what's everybody's weekend plans, but it's not Friday. Just over an hour. That's good. That's kind of my target. So that worked out. We still got some printers to assemble. I kind of want to do those on weekends when it can take 4 hours if it has to. So not sure which one we're going to do Saturday, but I think I've got 3 that have been sitting around for a long time. So 3. Keytech A10M from forever ago. QL Sun QQ5, kind of an impulse buy one day because I really want a Delta that works. Not like the one I have that's never worked since it got here. It was broken when it arrived, and it'll never get fixed. And the King Rune, that little thing, it was just cheap. It was kind of like the checkout at Amazon one night. I was like, all right, throw in the cart. So anyway, so thanks everybody for coming and for watching and doing comments in the chat and everything, and giving me advice and telling me when I was sharing the wrong window. You couldn't see. Good thing to remember for the future. And so I want everybody to be safe, and remember, never let the machines win.